Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we discuss the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football. And welcome to episode 157. It is January 18th, 2017. As always, I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Anthony.
And we are back with another action-packed show for you guys today. We're going to talk about the social media saga of Antonio Brown. I didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday. I wanted to wait to talk about it to more develop, and it did. And, of course, I have to talk about with Anthony here. You know, he always goes off on a tangent.
Okay.
So I kind of had to. And what else are we going to talk about? Oh, yeah, we're going to give you guys a little update on Kyle Shanahan. I did talk about it yesterday on the show, how he is the favorite now after Josh McDaniels withdrew his name from consideration. Well, it seems now that the 49ers are going to play the waiting game. They're going to play the waiting game, and I will tell you how they're going to do it. And we got a couple of little stories to end off the day, a little mix and match here and there. We might talk about Rex Ryan. We're going to talk about Anthony Lynn getting introduced as the LA Chargers head coach. That's still very weird to say. And apparently, Anthony Lynn he almost didn't say it at all. He almost didn't say LA Chargers. But we will talk about how he did it. But, of course, we're going to talk about his huge story, I should say, that's been kind of blown out of proportion. The Antonio Brown social media saga. He did apologize Tuesday night, saying his decision to stream the video that featured Mike Tomlin's post-game message in the locker room Sunday after the Steelers win against the Chiefs without permission was very wrong. This is what he had to say. Quote, "I let my emotions and genuine excitement get the best of me, and I wanted to share that moment with our fans. It was wrong for me to do against team and NFL policy, and I have apologized to Coach Tomlin and my teammates for my actions. I'm sorry to let them for letting it become a distraction and something that they had to answer questions about why we were preparing for a big game on Sunday." And the video has now more than 900,000 views. Just after a few hours, it was broadcast on Facebook. It was removed from the Browns page on Monday morning. And Tomlin, he did say something about it. He said his comments were regrettable, but he said he would punish Brown internally for streaming the video without his permission. And because Brown violated the NFL social media policy, which prohibits posting messages 90 minutes before kickoff through post-game interviews, he could probably get a fine. And I don't know how much the fine is, but he probably will get it this week before the game. But Anthony, did you see what Mike Tomlin said on this stream? I mean,
what Tomlin said when he was streaming?
Yeah.
Yeah, he basically said keep a low profile, which is just fantastic and juicy.
I thought that was so ironic. He said keep a low profile, and then it was broadcast live.
Yeah.
I just thought that was the most funniest part about it.
No, I mean, the thing with Mike Tomlin and this whole thing is basically they came out and said, keep a low profile, don't make a lot of noise and stuff like that. And I mean, Antonio Brown, whatever. I don't care the fact that he did this. Was it professional? No. But do I care about it? No. And should we make a big deal about this many days later? No. It's just one of those things where we have to have content because it's Wednesday. And I don't know if you know about this about Wednesday. There's not a lot of stuff on Wednesday because we're too late in the week to have Monday Night Football talked about. We're too early in the week to talk about the Sunday games.
And we're too late in the season.
We're too late in the season to talk about that in general because they don't have Monday night games anymore. They only have Saturday and now going forward just Sunday for the next 2 out of the 3 weeks. But, I mean, dude, here's the thing. Antonio Brown, okay, don't do that. Okay, fine. So, don't do that going forward. Awesome, cool, fantastic. He just was embarrassed, basically, right? He had a thing where the entire NFL community was basically yelling at him because Tomlin didn't like it afterwards. He called it unprofessional and everything else. Ben Roethlisberger, who, is no stranger to controversy, although to be fair, that, is totally different things.
And if you don't know, Google it.
And, he basically said, it is what it is, but he didn't like it. I can understand why you don't like it, and I guess the NFL is going to see if they're going to punish him for it because it's some version of basically too much access, which seems counterproductive to what you're trying to do, but the NFL is just kind of insane to begin with, and they don't tend to make much sense anyways. But with this whole thing with Antonio Brown, I mean, the funniest thing when this whole thing was happening, because everyone's just like, oh, is he a distraction? Oh, da-da-da. It's like, all right, A, you're not going to fine him, or you're not going to suspend him for this game, because basically, let's say that happened. Let's say, Mike Tomlin's trying to take a hard stance. He's like, I'm going to suspend Antonio Brown for the AFC Championship game. All right, cool. So you're going to lose. All right, cool. That's good talk. Okay, so now you're going to get yelled at of why didn't you start him? Because we yell at people about clock management. You don't think we're going to yell at him for not starting Antonio Brown. So once we get past the fact of, okay, he's not going to be suspended, so he's just going to be fined. And it's going to be embarrassing because you're going to have old heads in the media talking about how millennials are this and that, because that's what they kind of like to do now. And the story's like, if the Steelers win, no one's going to care. If the Steelers lose, then we get to bring this up next week and say, like, oh, is Antonio Brown's antics getting old? Because we just like to yell at people. Like, that's just kind of what we do, and it's stupid. But with Antonio Brown, I mean, I'm sure he feels bad about it. Like, he probably did it and was like, yeah, and then he probably saw all this stuff, and he's probably like, oh, that's probably a bad idea. Oh, that's my bad. Sorry, coach. It's basically, it's like, all right, I felt bad. Okay, let's move forward. It's not a big deal. We just like to make things a big deal.
Well, I think Mike Tomlin said what everyone that's not a Patriots fan usually thinks all the time about that team.
Oh, no, they are a-holes. That's fine. Like,
yeah, he really said it, and he's really regretting it because he kind of has to, so to speak, because, he is
false modesty kind of thing.
He is kind of a public figure in the world's, well, not the world's, but America's biggest sports. So I can see that point of view. But
dude, Goodell tried to basically get Brady suspended for 2 years. Like, he finally got it to happen, but he tried to basically do it for 2 years. Like,
yeah, it was hard.
They had a vendetta on the Patriots this whole 2 years after Deflategate. I don't like Deflategate. I think it's stupid. But the league was basically had it out from the whole time. And I mean, you could say the Patriots have had enough things, whether it was Spygate, Deflategate, whatever, but yeah, I mean, a lot of the league probably thinks the Patriots are a-holes. That's probably because they win all the time. It's probably because of controversies that they have. But he said Tomlin has to apologize and be like, oh, I respect every team, or whatever he said. I don't listen to what he said because, honestly, who cares? It doesn't matter what the coach says. You don't mean it. You meant what you said. Now you're just trying to cover it up, and that's fine. I get that you're doing that for PR reasons, but also don't, lie to me and tell me that you don't feel the way you felt because you kind of said it. That's kind of how you felt. And it's fine. I don't care, but don't lie to me now.
And Tomlin did say in his weekly news conference that when the same one that he said his comments were regrettable, he said that it was foolish of Antonio Brown to do that. It was selfish of him. It was also inconsiderate of him to do that, which, I kind of do.
All those things true.
I kind of do agree with. Because,
also funny.
Yeah.
All those things can also be funny. It doesn't have to be an either or.
Yeah, and I kind of do agree with that. Antonio Brown, he technically didn't have Mike Tomlin's permission to post that video.
Sure.
And
like I said, it can be immature.
It can be.
It can be inconsiderate. It can be selfish. It also can be funny. It doesn't have to be an either or with these things.
Yeah, and I think the thing with social media now with athletes is that, it's, with people like us, we use it a lot. Well, me, at least I do. I'm very active on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand how Mike Tomlin is mad about, or angry, or I guess that's the same word, as Antonio Brown for doing this without his permission, because, it is because Mike Tomlin thought he was having a private conversation with his players. And, Mike Tomlin, I think, is around, in his mid-40s. So, he does have a different type of thinking towards social media because he is an older gentleman.
Sure.
And so, unlike Tony Brown, who's in his 20s. So, I can do see that, it's kind of like two generations kind of like colliding in that kind of aspect. But
and that's and he's a younger sort of head coach. Like, he's not.
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't Tom Coughlin basically yelling at you. But two things I found really funny about the video, because I'm going to talk about the funny because I want to get these jokes. So that's fine. You can yell at me all you want to. I thought it was funny too. That's fine. We're going to go with that. Two things. One, the whole thing with Tomlin saying, keep a low profile, and Antonio Brown's over there like, hey, look at me. That part's funny. Number two, when he's doing that and showing everybody, I don't know who it is. There's another player who gets there, and he basically like looking at himself, like, all right, I got this, making sure his hair is all good, like doing all these other things like that, which is just fantastic because both of them don't give a damn about what, Mike Tomlin's doing over there.
They don't.
Like, that part's just, it's great to me because it's just like, and don't get me wrong, Mike Tomlin's one of the best coaches in the NFL. I mean, the dude's been to the AFC Championship game at least 3 times because he's been to the Super Bowl twice. So he's been to the AFC Championship game at least 3 times in his career, has 100 wins, has a Super Bowl, going to be with the Steelers for another decade because that's kind of how they do. They basically keep you there for like 20, 25 years. They're really good at hiring head coaches, unlike your team.
We will talk about that.
And, it's one of those things of just like, I remember someone said one time about Ray Lewis, because you know how Ray Lewis had those like rah-rah speeches, just like, oh, we're going to go. It's just basically just going super, super dramatic. And I think it was Flacco or something like that, basically on a radio show, was basically just like, yeah, we kind of tuned him out. Because you can only hear that stuff so many times before you're like, all right, Ray, I get it. Yes, Ray, all right, going through fire and brimstone. All right, cool, the Lord. Yes, okay, Ray, I get it. That's fine. Stop. You can only hear that stuff so many times. So with something like this, like, I'm sure they listen to Tomlin and everything else like that, but it's also one of those things where it's just like, okay, man, like, fine. We're going to play the Patriots next week. Yep, they're a-holes. Yep, I agree with you. All right, cool.
The thing that you kind of alluded to is that Antonio Brown wasn't even paying attention to Mike Tomlin, which is something that was kind of not even talked about. He wasn't even paying attention to the coach, but like you said, Mike Tomlin's been one of those raw guys, but he's a real players coach. Obviously he's doing something right. He's had really a lot of success there in Pittsburgh. But back to what I was saying, like Mike Tomlin is in his mid-40s, so he is older. He may not be into the whole social media thing.
Right.
I do think, does he have a Twitter account?
I doubt he does. No, I don't think he does. No, Tomlin doesn't do a lot of...
I know there's a fake Mike Tomlin parody account.
Well, no, I asked you this question sincerely. Like, name me a head coach who has a Twitter account.
In the NFL?
In general.
I know Harbaugh has one.
Harbaugh makes sense, actually. Harbaugh makes sense.
Jim Harbaugh has one. He actually created the account when he went to Michigan. He didn't have it when...
What's I'm saying? Like,
he didn't have it when he was with the 49ers. I kind of wish he did.
Well, I don't think... I might be wrong, but like I don't think they probably allow that. Like the NFL is strict enough about not allowing.
Pete Carroll does have Twitter. Pete Carroll
makes sense. Pete Carroll,
yeah, he does have one.
But it's those kind of coaches that are kind of like super like. I mean, I don't know how to describe quirky or something like that. I don't know because Pete Carroll's that way, Jim Harbaugh's that way. Like I can kind of see them being that way, but then like, can you like? Bob McAdoo, can't see that. Ben McAdoo, Bob McAdoo's former NBA player. Ben McAdoo, I doubt he has a Twitter account.
Ben McAdoo's like 38. He looks like he's like 50.
He does.
Yeah,
he does.
All right, I was kind of amazed.
But all those guys, like I'd be surprised, if they have some kind of like profile or anything else like that. Even the people that just got hired, like Vance Joseph or even McVay, who's 30 years old. Like I would be surprised if they have Twitter accounts.
I wouldn't be surprised if McVay has one because he is kind of like in LA, so kind of has that whole Hollywood style.
The other thing with like, especially with the NFL, like the NFL seems like just the worst kind of job to have, like to be like the head guy, right? Baseball, you're playing all the time, but you don't have a lot of like things to do, right? It's basically just like setting the lineup. Unless you're in the National League, then you got some kind of double switches and stuff like that. And the NBA, you have a little bit more free reign, but the NFL, it just seems like so just regimented. Like, oh, I have to get this game plan done. Oh, I have to do this. I have to do that. To the NBA, it's just like, all right, we're playing LeBron. All right, someone guard LeBron, please, or at least try to guard LeBron. Like, double team him if you have to, kind of thing. But yeah, like I can't see head coaches having social media profiles. That just seems kind of something that they don't want to do because what's the biggest thing players in the NFL and coaches in the NFL talk about all the time? Distractions. So I'd be shocked if they had a Twitter account to even open up that door of a distraction.
But yeah, I do think this story head was a little bit more blown out.
The story was stupid.
It was really blown out of proportion. Like he's just a guy that messed up,
Yeah. No, the story was stupid. Like it's just one of those things where it's just like not stupid because like I get that you shouldn't do that,
and I get why it was unprofessional. I get it, but
all right.
This is kind of like...
Also jokes.
This is kind of like... Exactly.
Also, let's get these jokes.
It's a time to get some jokes in the show.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like almost similar to the Odell Beckham boat trip which I thought was also blown out of proportion.
Like I said, it's Wednesday and we need stories.
Exactly. So that's why we're talking about it.
And
but
this will
then
do.
Again, but then again, I kind of think it was kind of semi-important to talk about, especially with two people here in the show. See, if I was doing this segment by myself, it wouldn't be funny.
Yeah, I mean...
It wouldn't be funny, dude. All right. But I think we're going to take our first break, Anthony. And when we get back, we're going to give an update on Kyle Shanahan and the San Francisco 49ers and how it's pretty much more likely that he's going to be the head coach now. And we're going to pretty much talk about the whole 49er franchise and Kyle Shanahan, if he should take the job or not.
All right.
But we will discuss that when we get back to the Golden State Media Concepts football podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be, visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Well, it looks like for the last head coaching vacancy available, it's going to go to Kyle Shanahan if he accepts it. It looks like the 49ers are planning to offer the head coaching job to Atlanta Falcons offensive coordinator Kyle Shanahan once the Falcons season ends. It can end after this Sunday's game against the Packers.
Right.
Or February 6th when the Super Bowl is done. So basically, they either have to wait till after the Sunday or they're going to have to wait 2 more weeks. But no matter what, the 49ers are going to play the waiting game. And they are planning to request a second interview with Shanahan next week after the NFC Championship game. Because, NFL rules does allow a second interview following a conference championship. This is after, Josh McDaniels took his name out of consideration. Tom Cable, who I don't even know why he was even a head coaching candidate, took himself out. So, as of now, the Niners don't even have a GM. And this is kind of like the same problem that they had with Harbaugh. They hired Harbaugh first, and then they hired Trent Baalke. So maybe it's a little skepticism there, but I do think Kyle Shanahan is the right guy for this job right now. But the thing is, though, does Kyle Shanahan, is he even interested? If I'm Kyle Shanahan, I don't even know if I want this job. No, I'm not even surprised that this is the last coaching vacancy filled because this is probably the worst coaching position right now. And I even said it. I think this is the worst coaching job right now. But, it looks like Shanahan is going to be the guy if he says yes. He's only 37. Kyle Shanahan has had really good success in his career. He's turned Matt Ryan's career around, who had an MVP year. He's also, even when he was in Cleveland in 2014, he made Brian Hoyer look really well before he got injured. With the Redskins, he made RG3 look really good. When he was with the Houston Texans, Matt Schaub looked pretty good as well. So it looks like he has a very good track record of working with pretty much below to average quarterbacks, making them look serviceable.
And Matt Ryan is really good.
Well, Matt Ryan is Matt Ryan was he was really above average. He's kind of almost to the elite status now. But I do think he is the right guy for this job because of the quarterback position. And I think this will be good for Colin Kaepernick if he stays, and I do think he should stay. But that's a whole different conversation that we can have in this segment.
That thing is basically just you and I disagree on that whole thing, but the only difference is basically you want to basically see it for another year with a different offensive coordinator / head coach, and I get that. Also, just Band-Aid, just right off. Just you got to rip that thing off at this point because it's not like he's going to get you to a Super Bowl. Right?
No,
like,
I'm not doing.
I'm
not doing that. I'm not saying that he's going to get him to Super Bowl. I just think he is someone that. I just want to know what Kaepernick can do in the Shanahan offense. You know,
he might be the best dude to stay as far as because Shanahan might get the best out of him, then they can trade him for something valuable. But with Kyle Shanahan, right? So now he's going to be the head coach of the 49ers.
Well, not yet.
Probably.
Okay.
The thing says like it looks highly likely or whatever else like that he's probably going to do it. And if he does, they're the second overall pick. Unless they trade out of that. You're assuming he's probably going to take a quarterback, right? Whether it's Trubisky, whether Watson, whoever you want to basically take.
I think it's going to be Deshaun Watson, but
sure.
we'll see.
And if that's the case, he's going to have basically control of it right now. He's basically going to say, like, okay, I want that guy. I think I can do well with that guy. And they'll have him in, for workouts and everything else like that. So they'll see who he likes. But if he takes a quarterback, right, if the Niners take a quarterback with Shanahan as the head coach, you can assume he's taking a guy who we think he can work with who will actually be pretty good. Because, like you said, you went down the list of people. RG3, like, say whatever you want to about them shredding the heck out of his knee in that playoff game. He had a really, really good rookie season. Probably, honestly, better than Andrew Luck. And now with something like this, you have a situation where, he has the history. And it's like, okay, you're going to go into the Niners organization, which is nothing short of a dumpster fire at this point. You're going to have your fourth head coach in 4 years. And I joked about this with Ben. I know you're a fan. That's fine. Also, let's just say, because they're still a bad team, right? Name you player on offense who's good on that team. I dare you. Carlos Hyde is okay at best, and Colin Kaepernick had good games. He also had a game where he threw.
Kaepernick was their best player this year.
Okay, did he not have a game where he threw for 4 yards?
He did have one.
That's no good. And Ben threw that back in my face, and all I could say in response was like, still, because I didn't know what else to say.
Well,
yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Colin Kaepernick he's had some bad games. He's very inconsistent. But if you looked at his overall numbers in general,
sure,
I said it yesterday. He started off really rocky, but that may be because he hasn't played in a year and a half. In his first start against Buffalo, okay, he wasn't good. But after the bye week, he was on a little hot streak until that Bears game, and then after that he was
right.
He ended the year pretty good.
He was fine. No, my point with the whole thing was, okay,
but in general, that whole offense, there's only two players that I really like, which is Carlos Hyde, but he's having some he's been having problems being durable.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the type of running back that can make it to a 16-game season.
Sure.
Colin Kaepernick, I think, was their best player, but if Colin Kaepernick is your best player, that's probably saying a lot about your team. Because when the Niners were good, Kaepernick, sure, he was good, but he wasn't the best player on that team.
No. Okay, so one more. So Shanahan's going to come in, right? So there's two things about this that I find, because again, like last segment, I'm here for these jokes. So, number one, he's coming in without a GM, right? He's basically the guy. And they haven't hired the GM yet, which may be bad, may not be bad. Who knows? Maybe the GM's like, oh, yeah, no, I like Shanahan. He's cool. But let's say that's not the case. Let's say they don't get along. All right, let's say it's a Balky Harbaugh situation again. And let's say, because this roster is really, really bad, let's say they go 1-15, which isn't out of the possibility. The team stinks.
I think it could happen again,
I honestly put it at like 75, 80% chance it doesn't happen. Probably higher than that, probably like 90, 95. Is there any chance, if they go 0-16, do they fire Shanahan and make it like a fifth coach in 5 years?
Honestly, the way that this organization has been run, I wouldn't be surprised.
What's the thing?
This is because
Ben was saying like no.
This is Jay York's fifth head coach in his 7-year tenure as the owner.
Well, because like just Ben was joking about it, and Ben was just kind of the thing. It's just like no, they can't do that. They're paying all these coaches. Okay. Also, the team seems insane. Like that's the thing. Yeah. The team seems like a crazy team. Like Jed York is basically there, just like I forget who called it that, but I was listening, and someone basically called him the Boy King.
Basically, that's what he is, yeah. That's what he is.
Because he looks young and he doesn't seem to know what the hell he's doing. They try to be like, oh, are you going to fire yourself? And it's like that. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Get out of here. Get out of my court. Get out of my court. I am the king. And, with this whole situation, yeah, they're still paying Tom Sula. Yeah, they're still paying Chip Kelly. And don't think they're paying Harbaugh anymore. I think he's finally out of that. But you're paying those two guys, and now you're going to possibly pay Kyle Shanahan. I kind of want them to go 0-16 just to see if they fire him.
I don't.
I know you don't. That's fine.
But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
But I think Shanahan will be good, honestly, because I think he's, like I said, he has a history, he has a pedigree of actually doing good things with quarterbacks that are, anywhere from average, like Brian Hoyer, to people who showed a lot of promise in RG3, to someone who's like a legit MVP candidate. And probably, he seems like the guy that's going to win it. You can argue about Brady, or you can argue about Aaron Rodgers, or whoever else like that, but he's definitely, 1-2, whatever you want to call it, in the MVP race. So we basically brought a guy who we all liked and thought he was good, then had a couple of bad years, now back in the MVP candidate. So he's basically shown, whether you're average to elite almost, he's been able to work with you and make you better.
Yeah, and I do agree with that. Matt Ryan was looked at probably like a above average quarterback, with those bad years. Now he's going to maybe possibly elite status.
He's right at that level. He's
on the cusp of that. I think if he.
Well, he's the worst of the four quarterbacks that are in the AFC in the championship round this coming weekend, and he might be the MVP in the league, and he's the worst of the four in the playoffs, which is saying something.
That is saying a lot, actually. That tells you how much talent is at the quarterback position with these four teams.
I mean, the other three quarterbacks are going to go to the Hall of Fame, so
yeah, probably, most likely, especially Brady. There, he's probably going to be a first ballot Hall.
Brady's first ballot. Rodgers might be that. Okay, we actually never talked about that, dude. That throw. That Aaron Rodgers throw where he just ran around at the end. I don't understand how he does these things. Fine, Brady might be the best quarterback of all time. Aaron Rodgers is probably the most fun to watch in the game right now, and Roethlisberger's got 2 rings. And, as a Steeler quarterback, he's going to get in the Hall of Fame too. Dude, that Aaron Rodgers throw, God, I don't understand. I don't understand how you can do that stuff, running to your left, throwing across your body, throwing basically like a perfect throw. It's insane.
I don't know how that happened, but it happened. I gotta ask you: is it a better throw or was it a better catch? I think
throw.
Because I honestly think
because the toe.
I think it was a better catch.
The toe tapping thing. Not to discredit what is it, Cook.
Jerry Cook, who I actually talked about on the fantasy show.
You did. So congratulations to you, honestly.
And I talked about your boy Fedorowicz.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. No, but, that throw, because the catch, we've seen a lot of people do those toe-tapping catches forever. Nothing against Cook. We've seen a lot of people do that. Dude, how many times have you seen dudes run to the left, run basically to throw against your body, and basically 25, 30, 35 yards, just freaking rope to a dude, in the corner. This is one of the things where it's he had kind of a floating kind of pass or whatever that you can kind of jump and catch. This was a line drive rope pass that was perfect. And don't get me wrong, the catch was really good too, but that throw, whew, God. It was really good.
Yeah, it was really good. But, the Packers will play the Falcons this Sunday, which it's a game I'm looking forward to. I think it's going to be a game that's 52-49. I'm hoping for it.
Right.
Yes. But we're going to take our last break here, and we're going to get into a little bit of roundup of stories here that have occurred during the past 24 hours, and we will discuss these last slate of stories when we get back to the Going to Me Concepts football podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMc Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's GSMcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMcpodcast.com for more info.
All right. Well, it is Wednesday, and we kind of have to dig deep for content here. And we decided to, since we got a little bit of Slate stories, and we're going to try to get some jokes in here.
We're going to get these jokes.
Why Lift Wednesday has returned, guys.
So,
Why Lift Wednesday has returned.
We have a couple of things. One of which is from one of our beloved people. His name is Marshawn Lynch. There was a story recently, not a story, there was a video posted of him in Scotland doing wheelies in the middle of the street. And, you know, it's just one of the things where I don't know if you forgot, like, what side of the street people drive on or whatever, but, like, all of a sudden, you see him doing wheelies, and it's like, oh, that's cool, it's Marshawn Lynch. And then all of a sudden, he just, like, viciously turns to the left, and it's like, oh, there's a bus. Oh, okay, cool. He almost got hit by a bus. Our beloved Marshawn Lynch almost got basically flattened by a bus, which is, like, the video itself is funny, and also it brings us back to something that happened a couple of years ago. He was doing a interview for, I think it was either 60 Minutes or something around that. Like, it was either 60 Minutes or Showtime, and basically he, you know, is talking about his running style, and it's something where he's basically just like, you know, if a dude wants to get hit all the time, like, you're not going to want to get hit every time if I'm going to hit you over and over and over and over again. Like, you're not going to want to keep hitting me because it's basically going to hurt, and you're like, all right, cool, never mind. Like, you don't want to do that over and over again. And the reporter, dead serious, looks at him as, like, trying to get something bigger. It's like, it seems there's a deeper metaphor in that meeting. And he just, like, looks at him dead in the face, like, super, like, serious about it. Like, not, like, you know, getting mad at him or anything else like that, but just, like, you know, his response back was just, like, run through a mother face. And just dead serious. And I love Marshawn Lynch, and I miss him. And the Seahawks would be so much better if he stayed. Even though he's, like, 30-something years old now, he still would be probably the best running back on the team by a mile. And I miss Marshawn.
Yeah, and you were having a little too much fun with that little clip in a...
Dude, it's funny.
No, I think if you say that, you know, run through an MFer's face, it can be... You said it can be used for EDM song, and I completely agree. Are you kidding me? Like, I think it can be a really good rap song sample with E40, who's a Bay Area rapper. And Marshawn Lynch is from the Bay Area. Mm-hmm. Perfect marriage there.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, you know... It was when I looked at the video. You know, I saw Marshawn Lynch popping this wheelie, and I was like, "Oh, cool!" You know, he's being Marshawn Lynch, doing Marshawn Lynch things. And then he just turns. I'm like, "Why did you turn?" I'm like, "Oh, crap!"
Your reaction was great because, like, I'd already seen, so I knew what happened. But you're like, "Oh, that's cool! Oh, wow!"
I was like, "Oh, wow! Oh, wow! No, okay." And that bus was.
He wasn't stopping for Marshawn.
It wasn't stopping. Literally, that bus was about to run through a mother effer's face right there. So, yeah.
So that's one. So
we love Marshawn here.
We love Marshawn. Okay. So there's three jokes we're going to get off right now. Okay. All right, so that's joke number one. Joke number two, the Chargers. Now, what is the name of the Chargers?
They are the Los Angeles Chargers, and it is still weird to say.
It is still weird to say. Like, we're going to say San Diego Chargers a few times because I said Tampa Bay Devil Rays when they went from the Devil Rays to the Rays. I'm pretty sure I said the St. Louis Rams when they moved from St. Louis to L.A. These things happen. When you ever change your name, whether it's the first, you know, the city or the actual nickname, you're going to forget about it. You're going to go back to what you've known for, you know, years and years. So the Chargers recently, you know, they got a new head coach, right? And Anthony Lynn gets over there. He's in the press conference. And he's talking about how, you know, he's happy to be here. He loves the organization. All the stuff the coaches say that no one really cares about. They just have to have a, you know, nice little clip to play on NFL Network. And when he does that, call them the San Diego Chargers because, of course, he did. And he's like, oops, I mean L.A. Chargers. Sorry. You know, kind of thing like that. And we're going to make jokes about it. And hopefully he doesn't get off to a bad start because then this is going to get replaced. And it's like, oh, you're not even a good coach. You don't know where your city plays. To be fair, no one's going to know where they play because they play at a 30,000 seat stadium. And if we've seen anything about LA this year, it's they don't really care about football. So I hope he gets off to a good start because I don't want this coming back at him, you know, call it in November if the team's not doing well.
Yeah, and I think the Chargers, they have been pretty much, in the past week, they become practically the laughingstock of the league. You know, it started out with, okay, when they announced the move, okay, they weren't the laughingstock of the league. I think a lot of people were sad. They were the biggest story because, you know, they were going to L.A.
Yeah.
They became the laughingstock of the league, and they were trolled so hard with that.
With the logo?
That horrendous logo.
The bolt? And the L.A. Dodgers bolt?
The L.A. Dodgers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, if they had a baby.
Basically, yes.
And there's this tweet that happened last week, too, when this happened. Was it Tampa Bay Lightning social media? When that happened, they were like, clear throats. And just to let you guys know, the Dodgers and I are just friends. And then, of course, the Dodgers Twitter responded, I thought you were going to call. I just like the way.
Oh, no, everyone got the joke. It was great. Everybody got jokes. And then even the Dallas Stars basically took the Cowboys logo and basically made it green. Like that's what their colors are, basically, green and blue. So they basically took the Dallas Cowboys star. They basically just like did the same thing, made it green, so kind of make it on them. I was like, okay, cool. We have our new logo. Hope you're cool with that kind of thing. So like everyone had jokes with the Chargers with that, and it's just kind of a little funny thing. It's like, oh, you called it the San Diego Chargers, which honestly you're probably going to call it that 5,000-6,000 more times because you're going to take time for your brain to adjust. Even if you're in LA, LA is close to San Diego. It's one of those things where it's just like you've said the Chargers since the 60s. Like, that's what your brain knows.
And the Chargers, it's going to be kind of something to see. They're going to be... the fact that they moved to L.A. is something that is going to be... It can be really bad.
I'll be interested to see how this goes, yeah.
Really good. So, even if the Chargers happen to go 12-4... I don't think anyone's going to care. I'm going to be honest with you. They are not going to care.
They'll probably care because you're going to have one team, right, that has to be the good team in L.A. Like the Lakers were that forever. USC was that for football. UCLA was that for basketball. Like, you're always going to have that one good team in L.A. and the other one kind of gets pushed to the side. Dodgers, Angels, stuff like that. But the Chargers probably got the best chance because they at least have a quarterback in San Diego. See, there it is right there. Los Angeles, Chargers actually have a quarterback to where the LA Rams, they don't. So that could actually be the good team over there. But we're going to go to the last one. Our last thing we're going to get these jokes off with. Buffalo Bills, former head coach Rex Ryan. So he had this big pickup truck that had just, decked out in Buffalo Bills stuff. Well, when you get fired from your job, you don't necessarily want to rep, the old things that you had. So he took that all down, and now he's got Clemson memorabilia because the son goes there. Someone took a picture of it. It's this giant pickup truck, like F-250, F-350, something like that. Just a massive, massive thing. And he's got a couple of Clemson logos on there, and I wouldn't be surprised if he just, whatever team he gets signed with next, whether he's like a defensive coordinator for the organization or a head coach, he's going to get all that kind of decked out and stuff like that. I do miss Rex Ryan, though, because Rex Ryan was kind of one of those people who didn't care. He's someone I could see that has social media. He's someone I could see that absolutely would have a Twitter account. But I miss him because he was just so much just like, I'm going to do what I want, and I really don't care if you guys like it or not. Like, you guys can yell at me all you want to. That's fine. I'm still going to do it this way. It's the old Rage Against the Machine lyric, bleep, you won't do what you tell me kind of thing. But I just found this funny now. He's got this whole thing with Clemson. He has this truck. Not decked out. There's like two things with Clemson, but now he's going to rep Clemson, national champions Clemson, going forward.
Well, one, because the son was there, and when I first heard this, I'm like, why did he have Clemson?
Yeah, we had to figure it out,
We had to figure it out. We had to do some detective work, and we found it on ESPN. Well, there's a photo of this of his truck posted by a Bills fan.
Say his last name. Brandon, what's his last name?
Brandon Wilsonowski?
Wilsinski? Maybe. I don't know. I'm guessing as much as you are. But yeah, he posted it.
But yeah, that is... I guess that's all the jokes we can get out for today.
No, I mean, the thing with the Rex Ryan is just I miss him. He was fun. This kind of, truck thing wasn't that big of a thing. It's just something else that we saw to talk about. The Anthony Lynn thing was kind of funny. And Marshawn, we just want to talk about Marshawn Lynch, honestly. We just want to talk about Marshawn Lynch run through a mother face and, him almost getting smashed by a bus over in Scotland.
And then I also want to point out that Anthony Lynn's press conference was at the StubHub Center, which is kind of
30,000 seats.
30,000 seat facility.
Not a lot.
Nope. It is a soccer stadium. I still can't believe...
it is a soccer stadium.
I can't believe they're a tenant of a soccer team.
Well, they're a tenant of a soccer team right now, and they're going to be a tenant of a football team because the team that actually owns the stadium is
They're basically the New York Jets of L.A.
Yeah, they're the Clippers. Yeah, they Clippers don't own Staples Center.
Well, the Lakers don't either, but no.
I thought the Lakers did. I thought the Lakers were
they're both tenants.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, either way, But they're the Chargers or the Clippers in the sense of like relevancy right now because, at least the Rams were there first.
Yeah, it is true, but it's going to be interesting to see how the Chargers play out in LA. It's going to be interesting to see if Rex Ryan ever does something extraordinary funny.
Right.
And we'll see if Marshawn Lynch can do something that is Marshawn Lynch.
He'll do more things. It's Marshawn Lynch. He'll do more things.
All right, well, that concludes our show. And I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. And we'll be back tomorrow discussing anything that occurs over the past 24 hours. And, we're available every day. And as always, I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Anthony.
And you guys have a good day and have a pleasant tomorrow.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMc to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.